Hi, welcome back to my channel, Uniquely Reagan Handcrafted Cards. Today I'm going to make my craft roulette submission for episode 266. The parameters for this week's episode were to make a project that's an A7 card that is 5x7, to use coral colors, I should say, that are a floral wreath, and then use an element that is lyric or lyrics, and then also to use something that is random. I'm going to use the Stamps of Life Howdy Western online class kit, which contains images like a boot, a hat, the word howdy, horseshoe, and also a cactus. And I've been playing with that. So that's what I'm going to be using. I have some die cuts already cut out. And I found some paper that looks kind of Southwestern themed. So that's what I'm going to be using. I have a 5x7 card base with a card panel. Here's my card base here. I cut out a panel that's just a little bit smaller than that by about 1/4 of an inch. And then another panel, another 1/4 of an inch smaller than that. The paper that I'm using is a Wildflower We Are Memory Keepers paper pad. It's from 2015 that I got at a thrift store, so I'm going to use my stash there. And like I said, I've cut out the cactus using the die cut, and then I also have the cowboy hat and the word howdy. So that's where the theme, the element of lyric comes in. There are several country and western songs that contain the word howdy in the title. So that's what I'm going to be using. And I'm going to take the cactus and I'm going to ink the edges of that up just to give it some dimension. So I'm getting my blending brushes out and I'll find the one that's used for the green ink. So I'm going to get my mint chip color out just to give a little bit of dimension to the edge here. There we go. I also have a couple of smaller pieces that I used from one I cut down. So we'll ink the edges of that too. We're going to just create a little scene in my card. So I'm going to use these extra pieces in my scene. Okay. So I'm done with that part. Set that aside. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some tape and I'm going to adhere this to the card base. Whoops. There we go. Let's adhere this to the card. There we go. So I've got my matte layers adhered down. I also took the Stamps of Life border die set and I used this dotted or stitched hilly die to create a little hill here, and that kind of symbolizes the sand of the desert. So I'm going to cut this down to this piece here is 4.5, so I'm going to cut this down on each side to get it down to 4.5. But I don't want it all just lower in the middle, so let's just trim off a little bit of this end, and then I'll turn it and trim it on this end. And I'll do the same with this piece. Just make sure that will fit. Yep, that'll be good. So this stitched piece is going to go in front of the other piece here, and I'm going to kind of layer that up and pop it up on some foam tape, just to raise it up a little bit, because I am going to tuck my cactus in, especially these two little pieces here. So I'm going to get a little bit of foam tape. Okay, and I'll get some glue here. Okay, so I'm going to tuck my piece in, my cactus in right here. I'm going to glue this one straight down. There in the middle. And down here at the bottom of the cactus, there's looking like some rocks or some dust up around it. I took the die that has the detail die, and I took some brown paper and just used a piece of scratch paper to cut around that. And then I also inked it with some walnut stain distress ink, just to get a little bit of definition there. So I'm going to glue that right on top of that die. There you go. Gluing that there. And then I'm going to, I have a piece of the same matting layer paper that's on the card, and I just cut it down, trimmed it to the size of the image, the sentiment I had already stamped. So I'm going to adhere that down. And I'm going to offset it this way just a little bit. And I'm going to take this cowboy hat and layer it over here, and I'm going to pop that up on a bit of foam. So let's cut some foam tape here. If you don't have foam tape, you can always use bits of scrap paper that are doubled up and glued together. I often do that if I have some extra bits of paper and don't want to take the time to get out the foam tape or something. That's a good way to save some money and use up your scraps. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to leave it over here, and that brings the blue together. And then I also have some flowers. We needed to use some floral colors. Now I have floral colors between the green of the cactus paper, the blue, the pattern paper here at the back. So I'm just going to decorate my cactus up here and add some flowers to the arms of the cactus. That cactus has some blooming flowers on it. And there's 5 so that we meet the parameter of Cinco. There we go. And I have these extra little bits. I told you before that I was going to adhere these down to the card as well. So I'm going to take one and push it to the back behind that layer. And I'm going to take this second one and I'm going to put it down in the front here as if it's peeking out of this little piece. Get a little bit more glue on the back of that. There we go. So I want to take some Glossy Accents here and just decorate put a little bit of Glossy Accents in the center of those flowers. We just need a little bubble. If I had used a enamel dot or something like that, that would add even more dimension. And we have quite a lot going on with this card already, but adding some Glossy Accents will give a little bit of hint of something extra going on there. So that'll be pretty cute. So I think that I've met all the parameters for the Craft Roulette episode number 266. I do have an A7 card, which is 5x7. I have floral wreath colors. I've got some green and peaches and coral and pinks and blues. And then I also have that lyric element. Howdy is the song title of several different country and western songs. And then I also have 5 flowers, which is Cinco. So I've met all those parameters. I hope you enjoyed watching my video today for episode 266 card roulette submission. And I hope you come back and enjoy my channel again. Hit that like or subscribe button, leave a comment with me, and come back and see me the next time I have a crafty video. Talk to you later. Bye.